Well, to discuss the issue, we're joined in the studio now by Simon Festing from the Research Defence Society and Nikki Gordon from the Dr Hadwin Trust. Both of you, thank you very much indeed for being with us. Simon, what do you say to people who think that actually, if you're a medical researcher, the first thing you do is clutch for an animal to research on it, when maybe a lot of those experiments are unnecessary?
Well, it's almost always the last thing that you would go for. You would use all the alternatives first. Our position is really one of compassion. This is about the patient suffering from diabetes, Parkinson's, Alzheimer's or cancer. And the use of animals is a small but vital part of medical research to find treatments for those awful diseases.
Nikki, let me ask you a hypothetical question. If you could cure Alzheimer's disease through experimentation on animals, does that justify it?
It's not the case that you can cure Alzheimer's using animals, because animals don't suffer from Alzheimer's.
I was asking a hypothetical question.
It's not a realistic question, because other animals don't suffer from the disease. So,
well, what about any other disease? Okay, you can name any other disease. If it could be proven that it would cure a human condition by testing on animals, would that justify it?
In most other diseases that you look at, hepatitis, stroke research, Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, any of these diseases, other animals don't suffer from those diseases.
I'm just asking the hypothetical question.
It's simply not the case that animal research will give you those answers. Non-animal techniques.
But if they did, I'm just interested to know whether your position is an absolute one, no testing on animals whatever, or whether you're just saying actually it just doesn't work.
The Dr Hadwin Trust would like to see an end to all animal research, and that's for ethical reasons and scientific reasons.
So it is an absolute?
It is an absolute, yes.
Right, okay. Well, what do you say to that?
Well, there are many cases where the use of animals has given quite dramatic advances in medical science that have benefited people directly. Historical examples, the discovery of insulin in dogs, hundreds of thousands of diabetics, their lives have been saved. The polio vaccine, millions of people, and this would never have come about were it not for the use of animals. And a modern example, Herceptin, the breast cancer drug, not only developed and discovered in mice, but actually comes from mice. It's a mouse antibody that saves the lives of women with breast cancer.
What do you say to that?
The scientific evidence doesn't back up what Simon is saying.
It comes from mice, Herceptin.
There's been a huge amount... Sorry?
Go on, let Nikki speak.
There have been a number of scientific reviews of animal research, and the results from these scientific reviews simply don't show that animal research is translating to human patients. They show that it's not predictive, it's not valid, and it's not relevant, and non-animal techniques are providing the answers that are relevant to patients.
So are you saying that people like Simon just do it because, for the fun of it, they like testing animals?
I'm not saying they do it for the fun of it at all, no.
But are they misguided then?
Yes, they're misguided. We need a targeted strategy for replacing animals in experiments. The government needs to be behind it. It needs to be supported by all the big funders and scientists themselves. And then we can see an end to animal research and an end to animal suffering.
I mean,
answer the point about Herceptin then.
Well, it's very clear that that medicine comes from animals and benefits people. There are lots of cases like this. In fact, Nikki's exactly wrong. There have been no less than 4 major independent inquiries into animal research in the past 6 years, and they've all concluded that it does work and is of value. House of Lords, Nuffield Council on Bioethics, a Weatherall Committee, and an Animal Procedures Committee, a government advisory body.
But what we...
I wanted him to have a chance to speak without interrupting.
These are independent scientific inquiries, and the overwhelming majority of experts, researchers, doctors, medical research charities around the world support the limited use of animal research. Of course we want to develop the alternatives, and we're doing that. We're investing hundreds of millions of pounds into magnetic resonance, clinical scanning, cell cultures, test tubes and computer simulations. Vast sums of money are being invested in the alternatives, but as was said on the piece earlier, there are just some things that you can't do without animals. You can't study a beating heart in a test tube. It's not possible.
Simon's referring to reviews. Those aren't scientific reviews of the evidence.
They were scientific. That is not
They're
right.
Public inquiries, not scientific
with scientific
investigations.
experts. Let's be absolutely clear. The Weatherall Committee was made up only of scientific experts. The Animal Procedures Committee had all people who are expert in this issue on it.
That's
You're not right.
just not true. If
Yes,
you
it
look
is true.
at systematic reviews using the scientific evidence, virtually all of them have shown that animal experiments aren't valid and
No,
relevant.
I'm
for
sorry.
human
Okay, I'm
health.
gonna-
Clearly not true.
I'm going to leave you disagreeing with each other because I'm afraid we've run out of time, and I suspect if we had another hour, you still wouldn't be agreeing on those points. Both of you, thank you very much indeed for being with us. Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll have